This is Agriculture Today, and I'm Shelby Varner with the K-State Radio Network. David Schemm, Kansas Farm Service Agency State Executive Director, starts the show as he mentions farm programs with FSA and what payments producers could be receiving. State 4-H program leader Sarah Maass continues today's show as she talks about the Kansas State Fair and what 4-H projects attendees can see. Ending the show is Brad White, Todd Gunderson, and Phillip Lancaster from the Beef Cattle Institute with part of their Cattle Chat podcast, where they explain listeriosis in cattle and its causes. That and more is coming up ahead. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Wednesday show hearing from the Kansas Farm Service Agency. And today we're joined by State Executive Director of the Kansas Farm Service Agency, David Schemm. David, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Shelby.
David, today chatting about farm programs and beginning with ECAP. And what does ECAP stand for?
ECAP is an emergency commodity assistance program there. That was started up to help producers with a lot of the challenges they face here this last year. That program we're quickly bringing it to a close. There is still time to sign up. The deadline for that is August 15th. But at least what our records show, I think we've got most of the people signed up for that program. But if they don't think they've gotten signed up for it, Shelby, definitely those producers need to come on into our county offices and let us know on that ECAP program or Emergency Commodity Assistance Program.
And what does that program do again?
So it compensates producers for loss occurred on their crops. On that program there, it was kind of an initial disaster program that we came out with here earlier this year to address losses that producers had received already.
And another program that involves disasters with the Kansas Farm Service Agency, Supplemental Disaster Program. And what's that one?
So, Shelby, you know, here at USDA FSA, we love our alphabet soup, as it's said so much. So SDIRP, or Supplemental Disaster Assistance Program. It is for producers who suffered losses in 23 and 24 for qualifying losses there, which can be, again, that drought, excessive heat, excessive moisture there. And those producers there were sent out pre-filled applications, and they needed to go in there and check a few boxes, get that turned into our county offices. We are rocking and rolling on those, Shelby. We had almost 60,000 applications in the state for producers, and we've been doing that, and we're over almost 60% of those applications have been already filed by producers. Here just came out a couple of weeks ago. And if producers think they should have gotten an application and have not, please come into our county offices, inquire on that. We can actually even print out your application there at the county offices. There are some situations where there'll still be more stages of the disaster relief program, supplemental disaster relief program that will be coming out. But yeah, today, Kansas, unfortunately, on this program has been the number one number of applications in the nation. Obviously, it's because of the disasters that our producers have faced in 23 and 24. With this program, they're actually, the way they're releasing it, Shelby, is a stage 1 and a stage 2. And right now, what we're working on is stage 1. Stage 2 will be announced later this fall, and it will be for covering acres that are not insured or that shallow losses did not trigger the indemnity payment from crop insurance. That's what the stage 1 is based upon, is the indemnity that producers receive from crop insurance.
What could producers get from SDIRP?
Well, they get some additional payments to them, help offsetting their losses that they incurred in 23 and 24. Again, we kind of did a pre-filled applications, so it should be fairly easy for them. There can be some nuances there with how each producer has their operation structured, but it should be relatively easy for them to fill that out, get that in there. Again, it's based upon several different factors within the program, but it's based upon their crop insurance indemnity with some factors applied to it, and then that's the type of payment that a producer will receive.
When are those applications due back in?
So right now, there has not been a closing date that has been put on this stage one for those applications there. And so, still open. Would definitely encourage producers, though, to get in there. Like I say, if they have received one, obviously get in there. If they haven't received one and they think they should, please get in there and talk to our offices. There are some situations because FSA is relying upon data that we have received from RMA, crop insurance there. And so there are some situations that RMA did not get that data captured for that producer, or that data is still yet to go down. So we're expecting new data to come from RMA again. We're not sure of a time. So again, there could be some of those producers out there who have not gotten an application, and when they come in, we're not necessarily may not be able to help them until we can get the information from RMA. But we do know that RMA will be doing more data downloads to us. We just don't know what a time is right now.
Can producers expect to get that payment right after the application gets put in, or is it wait a little bit for it?
So just a couple of steps happen, but Shelby, it probably very well could be within days, if not within a week or maybe 2 weeks. There's some approvals that our county committees have to do and have to go through, as well as our district directors and state offices. But we're trying to definitely work on that to make sure those are fast and timely on that. I mean, the state, we've already sent out over $200 million to producers. So a lot of money going out to producers to try to help them on these situations. So our offices are definitely prioritizing getting these applications, getting them approved so that those producers can receive the payment. But yeah, honestly, it's been a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most that I'm hearing thus far that it's taking producers to get their payments.
And for payments and producers, what could they be seeing for ARC and PLC?
Well, as we come up 2024, ARC PLC payments will be issued October 1st as funding becomes available. And just to remind everybody there that those ARC PLC payments are based upon last year, and that's why I said 2024 ARC PLC payments. So, those prices and those losses that would trigger either the ARC payment or the PLC payment is going to be reflected upon what happened last year, not this year. So again, these payments here for the 2025 year won't come out until next year in 2026.
And we've chatted about this on previous Farm Service Agency segments, but a reminder that payments are now more than likely direct deposit into those producers' accounts.
Yes, absolutely. So they're set up with that direct deposit. So it will simply kind of show up there into the county office or into their bank account and be looking for them there.
And as we're talking about all these different programs with the Farm Service Agency, what is the process that you guys have to go through for if there's a disaster, getting the producers then taken care of?
Well, that's where, when disasters hit producers in an area, and Shelby, whether it's drought or whether it's a tornado or something like that, there's different programs that we have available that some producers will be able to take advantage of. We have, from a functioning standpoint, we have a county emergency board that we work with there that provides us reports so that we can be aware of that. I think from a producer standpoint is when those disasters hit, get into your county office, ask them what programs might be available. If it is a situation of a tornado or hailstorm or something like that, there's possible programs, either cost share programs or loan programs if they're interested in that we could help them with. But getting into those county offices and communicating to them what kind of impact it had on the producers, that really helps to kind of start to trigger that system initially here. And then our county offices definitely can and work with those producers, because Shelby, it can be some programs, disaster programs. For example, our livestock forage program, LFP. It is a disaster program designed to help producers with forage, loss of forage due to drought. It's kind of an automatic triggered program that we monitor the drought map. And then when a county hits a certain level of drought, a D3 level or that it triggers, and the county knows that they will be issuing some LFP payments to those producers out there. So a lot of times there's stuff like that. And then other times there's situations where a producer suffered a physical loss from, say, a tornado, say he lost a sprinkler or something like that. And so if he goes into that county office, he can talk to them. And, there's opportunities of a possible cost share program or a possible loan program that could help him out, depending upon his dynamics. So
as a reminder, if people have any questions with the Farm Service Agency, what should they do?
They should go to their county office and ask those folks there. And, again, always, we're here to help. Our county offices are here to help. If they have any questions after talking to their county offices, even myself, always here, more than happy to help the producers as I can. Reach out to me, and we'll try to get you directed in the right direction.
David, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Shelby.
That was Kansas Farm Service Agency State Executive Director David Schemm. As always, you can find more information about the Farm Service Agency online at Farmers.gov or by heading into your local service center. We're cutting to a short break now on Agriculture Today, but stick around because we have more for you up ahead. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we continue our show discussing 4-H and the upcoming Kansas State Fair and new 4-H year with State 4-H Program Leader Sarah Maass. Sarah, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Shelby.
Sarah, the State Fair almost just a month away, and what are the dates for it?
This year the State Fair is going to be September the 5th through September the 14th. It always starts that first Friday after Labor Day. And this year it's the earliest it can be. So if it seems early, it is.
And talking about a few different things that will be taking place during the whole Kansas State Fair, the first one usually has some pretty cute attractions, the Birthing Center.
Oh, absolutely. The Kansas State University vet students and former students, vet students themselves come and volunteer at the Birthing Center. And it is a highlight of the fair for a lot of families to go and see all the babies. And of course, sometimes if it's not timed just right, you might not see the babies yet. But I know last year we saw a lot of baby calves and baby pigs, and there were some sheep that were getting ready to lamb. So it just depends on the timing, but they are there during the duration of the fair.
And something else taking place, of course, at the fair, presentations by 4-Hers.
Yes. Every weekend, we have the opportunity that Saturday and Sunday, 4-H members are in 4-H Centennial Hall giving presentations about 4-H project. It might be a demonstration or a talk. And some of our kids who are giving our public speaking presentations will talk about what 4-H means to them and some of the things that 4-H has done for them throughout their career. And we'll also have a few young people who will be doing some poetry and prose. So it's usually a solid booking for Saturday, Sunday, both weekends of the fair.
And something else at the fair, of course, livestock. And what are some different things people could see with those species?
Oh, absolutely. So we've got the livestock shows that'll take place that first full weekend of the fair. And that we're talking beef, sheep, swine, goats, and we will also have a dairy cattle show on Monday, and then there's we'll have horse show that'll start later on in the week, that Thursday, the 11th. And there's just, no matter the day you come, there's typically always something there for you to see, knowing also on that second weekend we will have rabbits and chickens.
Is there also a unique showmanship that's been taking place for quite a few years at the state fair?
Yes, there is. I'm glad you mentioned that, Shelby, because there's always the fun legislative showmanship. And this is going to take place on Saturday, September the 6th at 1 o'clock. And that is always a grand time to watch our legislators who've been asked to come and show, see them back in the ring, whether they used to show or if it's the first time in the ring.
And also on September 10th, something kind of special with Kansas State University is hopefully taking place.
Yes, we want to paint the fairgrounds purple. On Wednesday, September the 10th, we're going to have Kansas State University Day at the Kansas State Fair. And there's plans underway right now, but we are looking forward to being able to celebrate Kansas State University that Wednesday.
What are other 4-H exhibits that people can always go see at the fair and maybe find a new project they want to do?
Sure. So, we've got the livestock as mentioned before, but we also have 2 buildings on the fairgrounds where we have our what we call static exhibits. It's 4-H Centennial Hall, and then right next door is 4-H Showcase. And both of those buildings hold a wide variety of projects, from entomology to geology, engineering and technology related topics, might be computer science or computer programming, rocketry, robotics. We have horticulture, plant science, vegetables and crops, all sorts of things. We also have vet science. Last year was the first year for us to have that at the Kansas State Fair, and this will be the second year. Looking forward to seeing the growth in that project. Also have shooting sports, clothing and sewing. Foods and nutrition is a huge one. We have so many baked products that come in. That is one of our project areas where, unfortunately, we just don't have enough space to be able to truthfully display everything. So when someone comes to the state fair to look at those exhibits, specifically the foods, they may not actually see it in the case, but we do have that opportunity for people to come up at the information desk and be able to look up how their child or grandchild or friend did and see what color of ribbon they received or award they received for that.
If people see a cool project and think that might be something they're interested in doing the following years, how do you recommend they go about finding more information about it?
Well, first and foremost, if you're coming to the state fair and you see that, find us in one of those 2 buildings and go to the information booth. We will have information there where we can point you to your local extension office and who your extension agents would be that you could contact. And honestly, September, well, right now in August and September during the fair, it's prime time to start visiting our 4-H clubs to see what is the best fit for your family, because our 4-H year is going to start October 1, and that's when enrollment will open for people to be able to join or rejoin 4-H.
And as we do come to the end of this 4-H year, or start getting a little bit closer to it, there is a final record book push that 4-Hers might want to keep in mind and start working on now if they haven't already.
Yeah, absolutely, Shelby. One of the things is a lot of people think that our fairs are the end all be all with the project work. And in the big picture, that's it for that product. But when we want to think about the learning and the growth that's taken place throughout the year, there's the thing called the record book. And I know some of our 4-H families are like, oh, it's the dreaded record book. But when we think about that, it really helps our 4-H members set goals for that project at the beginning of the year and figure out what it is they want to do on the leadership side of things, on the community vitality or the community service side of things for that project. what do they want to enter in the fair? What do they want to do? What do they want to learn? And then being able to reflect upon what they've learned, the good things and the challenging things, because then what are they going to do next year? And so those record books are really important. And especially when typically we think of our livestock projects with this, but all projects come with a cost. And so it's important also in those record books that we have that good financial accountability. How much did our project really cost us? And did we make anything? Did we not? And in the grand scheme of things, right, it may or may not matter, but it's important to understand what that cost benefit ratio is for that learning opportunity.
If people complete their record books at that county level and they do well, can they progress on?
They can. Our senior 4-H members have that opportunity. If they win on the county district level, they have that opportunity to move on to a regional level and then progress on to a state level. And our state level award winners are recognized annually in June at our what we call our Emerald Circle banquet that usually takes place during our 4-H Discovery Days. That's here in Manhattan on Kansas State University campus.
If people are wanting to find out more information about the Kansas State Fair or about 4-H, what's your recommendation?
For the Kansas State Fair, I would highly encourage you to go to kansasstatefair.com, and you can find the schedule for the entire state fair there, and just know that things are continuing to be added as things are finalized for this year's fair. For more information about 4-H, I'd strongly encourage you to go to kansas4h.org. And you'll be able to locate your extension office there and a phone number. And we just encourage you to give them a call and find out where the local clubs are and go visit. You never know what you might find that would be a good fit for your family to participate in.
Sarah, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thanks, Shelby. Appreciate it.
That was State 4-H Program Leader Sarah Maass, and she was discussing the upcoming Kansas State Fair, which is taking place in Hutchinson, Kansas, September 5th through the 14th. If you'd like to find the list of activities or more information about the State Fair and how to get there, you can do so by going online to kansasstatefair.com. Once again, that is kansasstatefair.com. If you're also wanting to find out more information about Kansas 4-H, you can do that online as well at kansas4h.org. Once again, that is kansas4h.org. I will link both of these websites in today's show notes on acttoday.net. I would also like to remind you about the upcoming Risk and Profit Conference from Kansas State University's Agricultural Economics Department, which is being held August 21st through the 22nd. You can find more information on that and how to get registered at agmanager.info. We're cutting to a short break now on Agriculture Today, but we'll be right back.
You're tuned in to Agriculture Today. I'm Madeline Drake, in for Shelby Varner. And we continue our show with K-State's Brad White, Todd Gunderson, and Phillip Lancaster on the Beef Cattle Institute's Cattle Chat podcast.
Listeriosis, or circling disease. And sometimes we don't see this frequently, but when we see it, it's notable. And maybe, Todd, I'll ask you, what would be the clinical signs, or what would you see in an animal that could have listeriosis? What do they typically look like?
That's a great question. And you mentioned circling. What the circling is that the listeria, which is a bacteria that can grow in the brain, actually is creating what we call a focal lesion, meaning that it's affecting a very specific isolated part of the brain. And often the parts of the brain that listeria affects are the same parts where the nerves that control balance and equilibrium and movement come out of the brainstem. And when that happens, you'll see these signs that indicate that something with that animal's ability to maintain its balance, maintain its equilibrium is off. And so when you see these animals that have their heads kind of tilted to one side, or they're turning their head to the right, that can definitely be a sign of Listeria. It's not the only thing that it can be, but especially if you have cattle, they're in confinement, they're on feed, especially if they're getting fed silage, and you start to see those signs in multiple animals, that's a clear indication that Listeria might be in the mix.
So key point there, you're going to see symptoms of difficulty with locomotion. So they may be moving back and forth. The head tilt, relatively common. We call it circling disease. Often they don't walk in a circle, they walk in a bob and weave type method, right? Because their head's tilted to the side because they may think they have it lined appropriately, but their equilibrium's off. You mentioned from the silage, and it's a bacteria. So Phillip, I'm going to ask you, when we think about silage, and maybe step away from Listeria for a second, but just tell me the process of when I put silage in a pit or a bunker, what processes do I expect to happen for that to appropriately ensile?
So when we put up silage, we're taking some type of forage crop, and we are going to chop it up really small, and we're going to pack it in a bunker or a silo, and we want to pack it in there airtight. So we want it to be anaerobic. And so, because what's going to happen is that silage is going to ferment. The sugars in that silage are going to ferment with the bacteria that are naturally there. When that bacteria ferment those sugars, we want them to ferment those to mainly lactic acid. That's the most important one, because that lactic acid is a stronger acid than some of our other acids, like acetic acid or butyric acid. And so we're going to drop the pH in that silage as that lactic acid is produced, and we're going to drop it. We want to get it down from close to 4. That is what makes silage stable. When we get that pH down close to 4, molds and yeasts and other bacteria can't grow very well, and so it makes that silage stable over long periods of time, and it can be stored for a long time and still be good to feed to cattle.
So we need appropriate storage environment, appropriate packing to get to that level, to have that pH. Where does Listeria come into play in this process that you described, Todd?
Well, Listeria is actually a pretty hardy bacteria, and it can grow in a wide array of environments, but it does not do well in an acidic environment. So if you can get that silage pH down to 4, it's very unlikely that you will have a problem with Listeria. But if it's not, Listeria can grow in lots of different environments, and when it does, it can be quite deadly. Common scenario where you might see Listeria grow is if you have maybe a dead animal that gets baled up or picked up with the silage material, and then it gets ensiled with the silage. That can cause Listeria, or botulism. Sometimes you'll see that as well.
Yeah, and I think, as you guys mentioned, the occurrence of Listeria in cattle is relatively rare. However, that bacteria may be more present, but a lot of times the silage process may take care of that. So a couple things to keep an eye out for is make sure that our silage went as we expected. And if we see neurologic signs, great place to get your veterinarian involved, because there are other things that can cause that.
Once again, that was part of the Beef Cattle Institute's Cattle Chat podcast with Brad White, Todd Gunderson, and Phillip Lancaster. That's all we have for you today on Agriculture Today, but we'll be back with more for you tomorrow.